Maryhurst was founded in 1843 is when we received the first young woman. It was founded by a woman who was a sister running programs in Angers, France, and her name was Maryhurst Pelletier.
Maryhurst got started because of a request by Bishop Flaget, who was the Bishop of Bardstown but became the Bishop of Louisville, the first Bishop of Louisville. Louisville was a river town, and he was seeing that vulnerable girls and women were at great risk. Basically, they arrived and they needed to establish themselves, get property, build a building, etc. So by September of 1843, they were able to open the program, which was basically a shelter with structure and help for women and girls. Well, Bank Street was initially, Portland was actually initially sort of a suburb or summer home area. We had bought property for a summer home but needed to expand. So we expanded the program to Bank Street and then later on consolidated the 8th Street and Bank Street at the Bank Street location.
I know that the programming there was ahead of its time in that if you were a young person, regardless of what your culture, whatever your background, wherever you came from, everyone was housed at Bank Street.
And the name Maryhurst, that was chosen because Mary, the mother of Jesus, has been considered a patron and a source of energy, a nurturing presence, a role model. And Hurst means woods, so Mary of the Woods.
It was quite an amazing feat to move from that very old structure. The structure at Bank Street had become very old and dilapidated, for lack of a better word. And so the sisters envisioned a place out from the city where they could provide the young women a place to enjoy nature, just be outside, and some new structure, a new place to live.
Even as we have grown over the years and have put up another building and then another building and created our wellness center and created new cottages and so forth, it's always been a very peace-filled space and a protected space.
Independent living got started out of the need for our kids. So this was brand new for the state. There was nothing for independent living. So Maryhurst was having to work with the state and broker how we could do that. We had apartments. We did different varieties of how we did apartments with having a roommate, an adult roommate that we would contract with. And then we saw the kids more and more kids needed it, and they needed more support between residential and an apartment with a roommate. And we bought the house and we made transitional living, that we had that house for a while called Rosehaven. And where we had the whole house, we had house parents that we trained and lived there with the kids, so they had more transition before they moved into an apartment. It was meeting a need that was nowhere in the state of Kentucky, and eventually other places are doing independent living, so that wasn't a primary need for the kids anymore.
We aren't doing that independent living setting the way we were. We don't have that Payne Street property anymore. And that's largely because we're able to meet the needs of those young people in different ways. And our folks in aftercare and transition services really provide that support long before they even leave. So it's much more seamless than it used to be.
Foster care grew again out of a need for our kids. We would see that over and over again. The teenagers who had done great in our residential program weren't being as successful often in foster care. They needed more, and the foster parents needed more. So again, it was out of a need for our kids that Maryhurst said, what can we do? How can we do it? So Maryhurst was the first private agency in the state to develop therapeutic foster care. So it was, what do our kids need to be successful in a foster home? And how do we give that to the parents, to the family, to help the kids be successful? So we poured on a lot of training, a lot of support. We were available 24/7 to our foster parents to give them what they needed to hang in there with our kids.
They could bounce things off of us. We could walk them through, kind of help shore them up for another day to go back out into it. And that was one of the great things that we did.
So while Maryhurst foster care program has ended, that work is still so important to us, which carries over with our aftercare. How do we provide support to the biological family or the foster family, or as kids move into independent living, to make sure we can provide as much wraparound services as we can, which may be some of the renewal services in a foster home with the kid to give them what they need to succeed.
If we stop only at residential work and only residential supports for our kids, that we're not really finished. And we really felt like getting out there into outpatient with our renewal program was one way that we could support those needs.
Maryhurst is still known so often. People go, oh, it's the teenage girls in residential care, right? And this is so important for the prevention end and the support end, that people know that Maryhurst is more than teenage girls. Being able to take our decades of expertise in abuse to a prevention and to support those parents and those kids who needed extra help. Renewal is, again, one of those very unique programs that Maryhurst does, and not just doing here's a program, here's counseling, but what is the need and how can we meet it? So it was set out to be in the community. People don't have to come to an office to see a counselor. They can if they want to, that's an option, but it's really what does the family, what does the child, what does the adult need? And we can go into the homes, we can go into the schools. How unique is that? So as Renewal was maturing, still doing the work in homes and in schools, but those partnerships where we're working with neighborhood agencies and starting the work with Metro government, which just accelerated it even more, where we can partner with staff in their agencies or in their organizations, and now into the community centers and different agencies where the Maryhurst, again, the expertise we have, can we share that with people who have expertise in what they're doing? If it's a rec program or an education program or a child care program, they have their expertise, and we've got the expertise in trauma-informed care and how to work with kids or adults who may have some special challenges, and how to bring that together to help the staff be successful with the individuals in their programs, as well as helping the kids or the adults be able to maintain staying in those programs. It's working together to build that bridge.
As long as we're looking and responding and reflecting on the mission, we will know what's next, whether that's something far outside of what we find ourselves in now. The world changes and the needs change, and one of the things that makes me most proud is our ability to change with the needs.
There's never going to be anybody else like us that contributes to this mission of mercy and reconciliation and life and health to young women than us now. That if we don't do it, who is? And so the excitement to me is, I've been in this work all my life, basically, and I have found it to be a good fit. And as we assume the mantle of this mission and these values going forward, what do we want to contribute to the lives of these girls that come our way today? The ones that we know need what we have to give. And so as we build a community as staff, as board, regardless of what our roles are, everybody contributes to the well-being of this mission of caring for young girls and women who have been so wounded in this war.